I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist, and this is Equal Entertainment. Greta Van Fleet frontman Josh Kiszka is publicly coming out as queer. Kiszka also shared that he's been in a loving same-sex relationship with his partner for the past 8 years. He also posted his concerns about the increasing wave of anti-LGBTQ+ hate and legislation, particularly in his home state of Tennessee. Kiszka is known for his powerful vocals. While he didn't label himself, he wanted to contribute to the ongoing fight for LGBTQ+ rights. The domestic violence trial of Jonathan Majors is now set to start in August. Majors appeared in a New York City court for a hearing with Megan Good by his side. Majors is accused of striking a woman in the face back in March. His lawyer says she has presented evidence to the district attorney that clears Majors of any wrongdoing. Trevor Noah is joining Spotify 6 months after leaving The Daily Show. The name of the podcast has not been released yet, but will drop later this year. Noah's weekly show will blend his humor with his global perspective and discuss the hottest and most captivating topics. The show will also feature some influential and interesting figures from around the world. The Academy Museum in Los Angeles is honoring the LGBTQ+ community for Pride Month. The events celebrate the intersectionalities of the LGBTQ+ community. I recently spoke with Amy Homma, who says telling authentic stories is crucial for empowering all communities.
I would love to know a little bit about your role and how that dovetails with some of these incredible Pride programs that you have going on.
Sure. So as Chief Audience Officer at the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, I get the extreme privilege and pleasure to oversee our programming teams. So our film programs team, and they are programming screenings throughout the week, sometimes 8-10 screenings per week. I also oversee our education team, and they are putting together fun programs, creative, really exciting workshops for folks of all ages, and lots of intergenerational activities as well. But also as Chief Audience Officer, I get to oversee marketing, communications, and digital. So it's not just about what the visitor gets to experience when they're at the museum. It's also how we talk to them, how we talk about them, and how we outreach towards them. So it's a really fun, exciting job that I get to have here.
You've got some workshops going on, some family-oriented workshops. And I think, not to lean into the too political side, but, at this time where politicians are trying to erase LGBTQ+ history, being able to see oneself on screen is incredibly important. And then also this acknowledgement that queerness is throughout the family unit. So I just really love that you're doing that.
Absolutely. So we have Pride programs for people of all ages, and kids 17 and under are always free with general admission at the museum. But in addition to focused programs with teenagers, we also are creating experiences for the entire family, like you said, to celebrate Pride. We know that families are self-identifying. There's so many different family makeups that we want to honor, uplift, and uphold with our programs. So we have Bob Baker Marionette Theater as our partner this June, and they are doing free puppet programs on Saturdays.
I know you have a book signing with the great Trevor Anderson. Would you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So another part of our museum practice is to constantly be partnering, yes, with film artists, but also with local community organizations, with local artists as well. So we've been working with the LA LGBT Center, and we've invited Trevor Anderson for a conversation and a signing of their book. I'm so excited for this program. The program itself is free, so people can come hear them talk along with the LGBT Center, but then they can also purchase a copy of their book and get it signed directly by them in person. We not only want to be a safe space for people of all walks of life and all backgrounds to feel in the museum, but also to see their stories represented with our screenings, programs, and exhibitions. So there's so much for people to connect with and see, whether it's through our galleries, our film screenings, our education programs. So I'm just inviting people to come on down and experience it for themselves.
Amy, would you talk about how learning about the history of films can create positive influence on today and the issues surrounding LGBTQ+ people?
Yeah, I mean, learning about the histories of film, it's in multiple layers. When we say histories of film, there are so many histories of film.
Yes.
And I think that the museum does such a tremendous job in placing value on that multiplicity. It's my history of film, it's your history of film, and it's our community's shared histories of film that when we learn that together and when we learn that in partnership with each other, we create more empathy for people, we create more understanding of folks whose lives might be very different from our own. But it's really through film as the most exciting accessible artistic medium that I think that we have as a society to draw those connections and bring us together. So I'm so thrilled that the Academy Museum is leaning into programs to offer this opportunity for people to experience the puppet show and then get to make a puppet in the education studio, to come see a screening, to come see our John Waters show that opens in fall. All of these are social experiences, and I'm just so excited for people to come and see it.
A new critically acclaimed film takes us back to 1988 in Thatcher's England, when the government passed Section 28, a law that bans queer teachers and lessons. Blue Jean follows Jean, a PE teacher who has to hide herself and live a double life. I spoke with writer and director Georgia Oakley about the movie's parallels with today.
First, I came across the law, Section 28, which provides the background for the film, which was in place for 15 years in the UK from 1988 to 2003. And it said that it was illegal to promote homosexuality in schools and local governments. And despite the fact that I'd been at school during that time, I hadn't previously heard of this law. And so I spent a lot of time before actually pitching the film. I spent a lot of time kind of unraveling the effects that this law must have had on my life and had on my life without me really knowing about it, which was a strange thing. I decided I wanted to tell a story about a PE teacher because of their proximity to bodies. I guess their job is so much more concerned with physicality than, say, a history teacher. So I had decided that already, and then I came across some firsthand accounts of PE teachers who had worked under Section 28, lesbian PE teachers, and there were really kind of incredible stories in amongst those. And we went on to meet with some of those women and talk to them face to face about their experiences. And mostly they spoke about the ways in which they had tried to manage essentially living a double life, but it was more than a double life because they were kind of splintering off their identity into many different, wearing different masks in so many different parts of their lives.
You began this process a while ago, and at least here in the States, things are only becoming more and more like what's going on in your film. And, with in Florida and Texas and these conservatives putting forth, there's, I think, 450 anti-LGBTQ plus bills around the country right now.
Yeah, I mean, we were aware of some of those parallels. There were sort of whisperings of the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida when we started working on the film. And I remember pointing out that this may feel, because there was a little bit of pushback, I think, at the beginning. People felt like maybe we were making a film that would be too much of a historic kind of like a cultural time capsule about this thing that nobody really, in the UK, no one really cared about it anymore. It was done. It was, and when it was repealed in 2003, there was only one tiny newspaper article, one column on like one newspaper on page 6. It was something that was this kind of dirty secret that nobody really wanted to face up to, and as a result so many people hadn't even heard of it. So I was keen to kind of take that from underneath the rug, as it were, because people were just sort of glossing over it. But I was also, I was aware of the fact that the situation is very similar in many places around, not just in the US, but in so many places in the world right now. There are laws just like this one. And I didn't make the film with that. I could never have anticipated quite how things would have unraveled, particularly in the States. I was reading just this morning about families with queer children who are moving from some of the red states in the US, having to move their whole families because they're just not welcome there anymore. And yeah, it kind of breaks my heart because there's been a lot of conversation, obviously, with the release of this film about how kind of timely it is. But obviously, that's not something that we hoped would happen.
You can watch the Advocate Channel live by downloading our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. For the Advocate Channel, I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. Thank you for watching.